I want to give a brief review of the Genshin 5.5 combat event Unlimited Fighting Championship. This is not a guide, but rather a discussion about what's good about this combat event, what's not so good, and what would be nice to see in combat events in the future. To summarize it, each stage of the event has two chambers. The first one is not based on defeating enemies at all, but rather has a completely different objective, which builds up your score as you complete it. The higher your score, the better the buff you gain in the second chamber. The second chamber is a boss fight where the boss has an ungodly amount of health, and your goal is to deal a certain amount of damage to it rather than defeat it. You also get 2 trial characters per stage, which help you with one chamber or the other. For the juicy Primogem rewards, you only need to deplete 40 health bars, which you should be able to do with the trial character or even less. For full rewards, you need to deplete 900 health bars, which will require some decent teams to take advantage of the stage mechanics. And for whales, you can flex your insanely overpowered characters by depleting the nearly 10,000 health bars and defeating the boss. So, the overall concept is a 2-chamber challenge where your performance with special objectives in the first chamber grants you buffs for the real challenge in the second chamber. This isn't the first event with this concept. In 5.0 we had Of Thorns and Crowns, but I didn't make a video of it. Either way, it shows that the Genshin devs like the event and want to iterate on it, bring it back, and make it better. So that said, let's go over the parts I like. The fact that one chamber is completely different from normal combat and has an objective besides just defeating enemies is very cool. It encourages you to build a unique team that does something besides deal the biggest damage numbers possible, and has the potential to show off many of the cool mechanics that are possible in Genshin Impact. Then, the second chamber being a normal combat challenge with extra buffs is nice. Most combat challenges have a set number of enemies or a boss with set HP, and rate you based on the time you take to defeat them. The twist here, where the time limit is set, but you are rated based on total damage dealt, is kinda cool. Fundamentally, it's still the same challenge where you just want to do the most DPS possible. As long as the time limit isn't something totally stupid like 30 seconds, there's not much difference except to whales who want to flex their top scores. The typical way lets you flex dealing massive amounts of damage in a few seconds, whereas this lets you flex dealing massive DPS for a couple minutes straight, including actually reacting to the enemy's attacks and movements in that time, so I prefer it this way. Trial characters are another huge thing that should be included in every single event involving characters. When I first started playing, there was an ongoing event with several trial characters, and that was one of the biggest things that got me hyped to keep playing and unlock those characters for myself. Plus, they allowed me to actually get the event rewards, which I couldn't have otherwise. So, trial characters are a must, and I hope they make sure to always include them. And lastly, as usual, it's nice that they make the Primogem rewards accessible to everyone, with some bonus rewards for those who want to challenge themselves even further. And then, adding the extra flex for whales on top of that is good too. Now for the criticisms. First of all, starting with no energy is annoying. I don't feel like it adds anything to the challenge. It just wastes your time while you generate energy so you can actually start your rotation. I suppose it incentivizes you to use teams that are less energy reliant or that have battery characters who can generate a lot of energy particles on demand, but I don't feel like that's a valuable twist. It just adds 10 to 15 seconds to your clear, during which you are bored because you can't play your team to its fullest effect. I don't like that the first chamber kinda just feels like busy work. There's no variation in the buffs you can get. You either max out the objective or you try again until you can. You having all the buffs for the second chamber is assumed, so the result is that the first chamber is just a thing you have to get through in order to take on the actual challenge in the second chamber. While it might have interesting mechanics, the first chamber itself isn't much of a challenge, and generally just comes down to having the right characters who can max out the objective. So, one thing that I think would improve the event is having 2 or more different objectives in the first chamber, and which ones you do will determine the buffs in the second chamber, and you can't just get them all. Ideally, different teams would be suited for the different objectives, giving you more options in what you can bring. As for the second chamber, the buffs themselves basically just amount to make number bigger, which isn't that interesting, especially since most of it is in the form of damage bonus, which devalues other damage bonus buffers, but there aren't a lot of good character options in swapping damage bonus for other things. Generally, you'd change your goblet artifact to take advantage of this, but changing gear just for an event is not particularly fun, considering we still don't have artifact loadouts. It'd be better to encourage changing up the team. To that end, I want to bring up the previous event of Thorns and Crowns, because there was one stage of that event that I thought implemented this concept perfectly. In the final stage, the first chamber wanted you to break Abyss Maid's shields and gave you Kazuha as a trial character. The second chamber's buff would periodically create vortexes to pull enemies in, something you'd normally use Kazuha for. In this way, the objective of the first chamber was reminiscent of the buff you get in the second, and moreover, the buff replaced an important team utility, grouping, so that you didn't have to bring a grouper yourself. And that exemplifies what I think this combat event could be in its best form. A first chamber with multiple combat objectives other than just defeating enemies, and you can choose which one to do, and then you receive buffs in the second chamber based on what objective you did, and these buffs would take over an aspect of team utility for you, opening up additional possibilities for team building that you couldn't really make otherwise. That wraps up my review of the 5.5 combat event. Hopefully I got you thinking about the things that you like and dislike in this event, so you can make sure to mention all of it in the next event survey. We all want these events to be as fun as possible. Anyway, I'm still working on making the best content that I can, so subscribe if you like what you see, and hopefully I see you in the next video. Thanks for watching!